Every single time, every single crime, every single lie, early lie. Every single hour, every single day, every single night, early lie. I know it's hard to believe it's the whole forest, not one tree, and it's every branch and leaf. They're born to deceive, but I'm telling you the truth. It's not just one or two, it's every single Jew. They all hate you, and it really breaks my heart. But their lies are off the charts, and they only bring us harm. You gotta get smart. So if you want to be safe and don't want to get replaced, it's best you start being based, or you'll get erased. Every single time, every single crime, every single lie, early life. Every single hour, every single day, every single night, early life. I know it's hard to accept that all the ones you've met lie with every single breath. They want you dead, but you must not be weak. Just open your eyes and see they always exploit the meek. See their vampire teeth, and it can make you cry to learn your life was full of lies and their face was a disguise. But you must fight. So if you want to live and protect all of your kin, you have to grow thick skin, or we won't. Every single time, every single crime, every single lie, early life. Every single hour, every single day, every single night, early life.
All right, and we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the stream, man. Short for time, so we're gonna just kind of get right into it. We are gonna be covering a couple different things. Brett Cooper, if we got time, protesters in Portland, and Netanyahu and Trump's meeting today, where they basically went over the for Gaza peace plan. It's a multiple point peace plan. Let's go ahead and go over this thing real quick. Let's see.
Mr. President,
Boom. We're here. Okay. And now let me go ahead and I'll look at some chats as well while we do this.
first I want to thank you for graciously hosting me once again in the White House. And second, I want to thank you for your friendship and for your leadership. From Jerusalem to Tehran, from the Golan Heights to Gaza, you've proven time and again what I've said many times. You are the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House.
And I think this is Netanyahu's like 8th trip to the United States now, guys. He's been here, last I checked, at least 6 or 7 times. Okay? We have not had a world leader come here that many times in such a quick time span. Trump hasn't even been in office for a year yet.
White House. And Mr. President, you and I both know it's not even close. While you focus at home on making America great again, your leadership abroad is changing the world for the better, ending wars and advancing peace. I believe that today we're taking a critical step towards both ending the war in Gaza and setting the stage for dramatically advancing peace in the Middle East. And I think beyond the Middle East, in very important Muslim countries. I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
And this was from earlier today, chat. So,
we would not have achieved this turning point without the courage
if I'm not mistaken, I think this is around a 20-point peace plan.
and sacrifice of our incredibly brave soldiers. They fight like lions to defend the people of Israel, and they serve on the front line in the war between civilization and barbarism. Mr. President, when our two countries stand shoulder to shoulder, we achieve the impossible. Just a few months ago,
Shout out to Font Alive with the gifted. Appreciate you, my friend, on Kick.
in Operation Rising Lion and Operation Midnight Hammer, we struck a decisive blow against Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. Your bold decision to send those B-2s
And just so you guys know, the Rising Lion was their attack, their sneak attack against Iran, and then obviously Midnight Hammer was when the B-2 bombers bombed the nuclear facilities. After that, especially Fordo, as you guys know, that's the heavily fortified nuclear facility in the mountain. Those are the two operations. The U.S. version, no, that won't be. That's the two. That's the two names of the two operations: the U.S. one and the Israeli one.
made the region safer and the world safer. Now, under your leadership, we're taking the next step to win the war and expand the peace. Your plan is consistent with the 5 principles my government set for the end of the war and the day after Hamas. Everybody asks, what is your plan for the day after Hamas? Here's our plan. Pass it in the cabinet. All our hostages, both those who are alive and those who died, all of them will return home.
They're estimating roughly 20 hostages are still alive, guys, and I think there's like 50 of them left, 40 to 50 of them left, and they're estimating that that only about 20 of them are alive.
Immediately. Hamas will
We know who did that. Don't fall for the propaganda, guys. The dead hostages are not as useful to Hamas as ones that are alive. The blockade, the starvation, the relentless bombing, that's killed the hostages.
be disarmed. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will retain security responsibility, including a security perimeter for the foreseeable future.
Translation, indefinitely. Indefinitely.
And lastly, Gaza will have a peaceful civilian administration that is run neither by Hamas nor by the Palestinian Authority. If Hamas agrees to your plan, Mr. President, the first step will be a modest withdrawal, followed by the release of all our hostages within 72 hours. The next step will be
Okay, a modest withdrawal. Key word here, guys, okay? Key word. And as we continue to listen to them talk about this peace deal, let's go ahead and deal with what Hamas actually wants. Okay, let's go with that real quick because, and I've explained this on other shows, but I think, we got a lot of new viewers. You guys are joining every day. Welcome to, the debrief. What Hamas wants is a permanent withdrawal, okay, and a permanent ceasefire, all right? That has been what's keeping the deal up. I want to be explicitly clear about this, all right? Say this again. What Hamas wants is a permanent withdrawal of Israeli forces and a permanent ceasefire. Now you're probably wondering, Myron, what do you mean by this? Throughout this conflict, right, there have been, periods of peace with ceasefires. There's been times where Israel would withdraw its troops to a degree. They'd minimize the amount of boots on the ground there, right? Especially between January when Trump was sworn in to about March, okay? There's been a blockade on Gaza since March. This is why we have all this starvation and everything else like that, right? And that's why they're getting all these stupid influencers to go to Israel and take video with them in the food lot for their propaganda, right? But they haven't been distributing the food, obviously. So he's saying a modest withdrawal. I don't know what that means. But, knowing Netanyahu, you guys know how he likes to play around words. We've watched him in private, like when he was talking about the Oslo Accords or whatever. He is a master of manipulating words and using things in a certain way where, oh, well, that doesn't count because this is an occupation because X, Y, Z, or we need to do this because of security reasons, whatever. He's always finessing some type of way. It's a big reason why there still isn't a Palestinian state, by the way, guys. This guy, Benjamin Netanyahu, is the reason why, to this day, we do not have a two-state, okay? The closest thing we came to it, which was the Oslo Accords, back in 1993, was sabotaged several times by Netanyahu, right? And if you guys want me to explain the Oslo Accords, I can, but I think I have discussed it a few times on this show and actually debated. It was a big point of contention when me and Destiny were debating, actually, as a matter of fact. When me and Destiny were debating, the debate was, who is a bigger obstacle to peace? And the Oslo Accords came up, and I articulated why the Oslo Accords, though good on paper, was a very dishonest peace plan, especially with how things turned out afterwards. Okay? So give me ones in the chat if you guys want me to recap what the Oslo Accords are. Give me a 1 or a 2 if you want me to just keep going, because I've explained it so many different times, but I do understand that we have new people in here every single day. Because, I feel like I'm repeating myself, and I hate sounding like I'm repeating myself, but a lot of you guys are new in here. So that's the only reason why. But let's keep going up. I'll look at the chat, see what you guys say. But in the meantime, let's keep going here.
The establishment of an international body charged with fully disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. I appreciate your willingness to lead the body, Mr. President. I really appreciate it because you have a lot of things to do, and this is important. And it reflects the confidence that this will give everyone, that things will be followed up on all the commitments made. The fact that you're taking this on, I think, helps a lot to make sure that everything flows in the direction that we want. Now, if this international body succeeds, we will have permanently ended the war. Israel will conduct further withdrawals linked to the extent of disarmament and demilitarization, but will remain in the security perimeter for the foreseeable future.
That means forever, FYI. That means they're going to continue to occupy them forever.
I think we should understand that we're giving everybody a chance to have this done peacefully, something that will achieve all our war objectives without any further bloodshed. But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way,
and chats, get your chats in, guys. I'm going to read them here in a little bit. So if you're watching on OSS, that's the best way to donate to the show. You can go ahead and jump into OSS right now. Use code JewsDid911. I'll run it for the rest of the month. But smash that like button, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, and jump into OSS. You can jump in for only $1 for the first month.
Can be done
right now
the hard way, but it will be done. We prefer the easy way, but it has to be done. All these goals must be achieved because we didn't fight this horrible fight, sacrifice the finest of our young men to have Hamas stay in Gaza and threaten us again and again and again with these horrific massacres. Mr. President, I was encouraged by your clear statement at the UN against the recognition of a Palestinian state. That would be an outcome that, after October 7th, would reward terrorism, undermine security, and endanger Israel's very existence. As for the Palestinian Authority, I appreciate your firm position that the PA can have no role whatsoever in Gaza without undergoing a radical and genuine transformation. In your 2020 peace plan, which you mentioned just now, you made clear what that transformation requires. It's not lip service. It's not checking a box. It's a fundamental, genuine, and enduring transformation. And that means ending pay to slay, changing the poisonous textbooks that teach hatred to Jews, to Palestinian children, stopping incitement in the media, ending lawfare against Israel at the ICC, the ICJ, recognizing the Jewish state, and many, many other reforms. It won't come as a surprise to you that the vast majority of Israelis have no faith that the PA Leopard will change its spots. But rather than wait for this miraculous transformation, your plan provides a practical and realistic path forward for Gaza in the coming years, in which Gaza will be administered neither by Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority, but by those committed to a genuine peace with Israel. I think this can be not only a new beginning for Gaza, I think it can be a new beginning for the entire region. Under your leadership, we can re-energize, well, I've got to contribute my own, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords. That's what it's called in the original Hebrew. Abraham. Abraham is fine. Abraham, however you want to call it. Under your leadership, Mr. President, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords that we forged 5 years ago. We can expand them to many more Arab and Muslim nations.
Okay, the Abraham Accords, to be honest with you guys, the Abraham Accords is a big reason why Hamas attacked on October 7th, and I'll explain that too.
Choose moderation over extremism. I think there's an opportunity here. It's not going to be easy. It's tough going, but I think if we succeed, you're absolutely right. We're going to open possibilities that nobody even dreamed of, but I think we dream of them. As you've told me, Mr. President, and you've told the world many, many times, you said, remember October 7th. Remember October 7th. And we do. We will never forget the horrors of October 7th, and we will do whatever is necessary to make sure they don't happen again. Since October 7th, Israel's enemies have learned a hard truth. Those who attack us pay a heavy price, but those who partner with us advance progress and security for their peoples. President Trump just said it. It's also in the Bible. It says, those who will bless you will be blessed, and those who will curse you will be cursed. And that's actually what is happening. We want the blessings. I think we've done a lot in the past 2 years to end the curse. We're not finished, but we've done a lot. And we've done a lot together to end the curse. I want to thank your entire team for their efforts to get to this point. I especially want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for their indefatigable work to bring Israel and Arab states in the region.
And if you guys are wondering, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Chav, you're wondering about Steve Witkoff and Kushner.
Region closer together. I am deeply grateful to both of them for their work. We had a phone call today just to make it clear. I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar, Israel was targeting terrorists, wasn't targeting Qatar. And of course, we regretted the loss of the Qatari citizen. It wasn't our target. And I very much appreciate President Trump's proposal to have a trilateral body, the United States, Israel, and Qatar, to work out respective grievances. There are quite a few. But if we could try to mitigate them or put it on a different footing, I think that'll be good for everyone.
So basically, it told Qatar, oh yeah, we bombed you. Oops, my bad, bro. Sorry, man. We bombed y'all, but sorry, dude. We're trying to get these Hamas terrorists, man. Even though they're in the middle of negotiations, we're trying to get them, bro.
All the people, the fine team, and many helpers who've done this, I want to thank you, Mr. President.
No, guys, you did not miss the Brett Cooper stupid part. We're going to cover that next. Don't worry.
History has already shown that under your leadership, Israel and America can change the face of the Middle East. And today I'm hopeful that your plan to end the war in Gaza will do so again and do so soon. It will free our hostages, end Hamas's tyranny in Gaza, and enable a more secure and prosperous future for the peoples of our region. Thank you, Mr. President. May God bless America. May God bless Israel. May God bless the indispensable alliance between our countries. And may I add, in Hebrew, may we all be inscribed in the book of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bibi. So I think while we wait for these documents to be signed and get everybody in line, I think it maybe is not really appropriate to take questions. I'm meeting with, as you know, a couple of Democrats in a little while about the country, about keeping our country open. They're going to have to do some things because their ideas are not very good ones. They're very bad for our country. So we'll see how that works out. But this is something that was really historic today. This was something that was amazing. I think, Bibi, I mean, depending on you, I think while we're waiting for signatures and waiting for approvals from a lot of different countries that are involved in this, we probably shouldn't take questions? Or would you like to take a question or two from perhaps a friendly Israeli reporter, if there's such a thing?
That's a very, very tough proposition. But I would think, Mr. President, that I would go by your instinct that this is, we'll have enough time for questions. Let's settle the issue first, I think.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Thank you.
President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu agreeing to a framework. So President Trump bringing Netanyahu along on this, a framework towards a peace deal in Gaza. Of course, Hamas will get a vote in this, but there is a lot of external pressure. But also, Omar, just a very interesting moment there where they seem to kind of broker off the cuff about whether or not they were going to take questions in a press conference, which normally does have questions from reporters.
Yeah, that's usually.
Yeah, one thing I will give Trump credit for is Trump typically, always answers questions. That's one thing I will always give Donald Trump credit for. Donald Trump is probably one of the most, I'll say, gracious presidents when it comes to the press. And what I mean by this is he answers all questions. He does multiple press conferences a day. He doesn't script anything. He lets them just come in. Now, I know a lot of critics will say, "Oh, but he only lets in friendly news organizations." I mean, I've seen him let CNN in plenty of times. So that's one thing I will absolutely give him credit for. Always answers questions. So this is a little rare for him to not do questions after this conference.
The basis of a press conference there, and it did put the Prime Minister in an interesting position, clearly deferential to his host, president here in the United States. We should also note, just as we meld a few stories together, 3 p.m. Eastern time was the time that the president was supposed to be meeting with a bipartisan congressional leadership as lawmakers on Capitol Hill negotiate ahead of a potential government shutdown. But let's put that to the side for right now. So that's likely where he's going to go. But still very interesting that on a day that he called, and I don't want to misquote him here, one of the great days in the history of civilization, quoting the president, coming out ahead of Prime Minister Netanyahu there, did not take questions. We want to go to the room right now because one of those people that would have asked a question, I'm very sure, is our chief White House correspondent, Caitlin Collins, who
See, boom. Him and Trump and her don't get along, but she's in there.
is standing there in the room for us.
If you guys remember, they did last year, I'll never forget, they had a CNN townhouse meeting or whatever, and she was grilling Trump, and he said, "You're a very nasty woman." Funny as hell.
At a lot of these, and we do typically see questions. Do we know why that didn't happen, and what did you want to know from the president at this point?
And it's funny that CNN keeps sending her to all this. She's always there, by the way. This chick is like one of Trump's top ops, and she's always there, man.
Yeah, this is the second time in memory that.
Hey, Joyce F. Coyle on YouTube. Welcome to the OSS, bro. And guys, if we get 16 signups, bro, I won't cut stream. Okay? We're almost at our goal of 5,200. But if we can hit 5,200 today, 16 more signups on OSS, only $1 to join, guys. That's how I stay independent. This is how I keep, keeping it real with you guys. Only $1 to join. It's $10 normally. First dollar the first month, then $10 after that. The OSS is literally how I stay, independent. Say what I want to say. This is how you guys know that everything you guys hear from me is never going to be fucking bought and sold or some other BS narrative, man. So thank you guys for allowing me to stay innocent. I really do. I said innocent. Independent, excuse me. I really appreciate you guys. But yeah, that's the best way to support, man.
President Trump.
I'll try to stay. If we can hit, like I said, if we can hit that 5,200 today. Right now we're 1584. Or sorry, 5184. We have 5,200, bro. I'm not gonna cut stream. I'll keep rolling the whole way through here. And then tomorrow I'm gonna give you guys a super long stream tomorrow. Obviously we got Money Monday today.
Trump has been in the room with a world leader with a setup like this one and not taken questions. The other one was with Vladimir Putin in Anchorage, Alaska. Obviously, that was a deal that wasn't fully finalized either. And now in this room, the president said he was waiting for those signatures to be signed to this agreement, or for even Hamas to accept it, which we have not heard of yet, before they would take questions on this deal. He actually turned to the Israeli prime minister and asked him if he would like to take questions. He said he would go with the president's instinct there to not take questions from reporters. Obviously, an extremely rare circumstance with President Trump. But actually, I got some indication before we came into the room that they likely would not be taking questions today because there is still so much in the air. Because while we know that the president came out here and he said, yes, Israel agrees to this, and that the prime minister then said that he does agree to the president's
And don't worry, guys, I got the whole bullet point of what's in this peace proposal for you guys. We'll finish watching this, and then I'll give you guys the full rundown of what actually is in this peace proposal. We'll talk about the Oslo Accords, and we'll talk about the Abraham Accords. Then I'll read chats, okay?
plan, there are still a lot of questions, because when you read through this incredibly detailed 20-point plan of how that would be carried out, of whether or not Israel is fully committed unconditionally to every point in that plan, including the references to the Palestinian Authority, which it said would have some kind of role in Gaza depending on reforms that happen. But you heard the Prime Minister here say
Now, the Palestinian Authority is typically based out of the West Bank.
That no, the Palestinian Authority wouldn't have any kind of role in this. And then also questions about point 19 on that 20-point plan, which says that if all of these proposals and reforms are put in place, that there could be a potential pathway to a Palestinian statehood. That is something that Prime Minister Netanyahu actually just ruled out a couple of days ago when he was speaking at the United Nations. So it raises a ton of questions there, and obviously we had a ton of questions for both of these leaders about what is going to happen next year. The next big question, though, that everyone in this room has is how Hamas is going to respond to this. So far, as of last night, they said they had not seen a detailed proposal here. Just today, it was changing. It was actually 21 points that had been circulating. It was 20 points that was ultimately released by the White House here. And so it raises a lot of questions of exactly what that looks like, what is going to happen next year, and whether or not the future of Gaza changes in the immediate future. Because what it says is that if Hamas does agree in the next 72 hours, they'd release those 20 living hostages and the 28 hostages whose bodies we know are being held in Gaza. Obviously, that's a lot of action to happen in 3 days, and so that remains to be seen if that is actually going to be something. And then the timeline for the rest of this is still.
So what? 28 corpses and 20 alive is what they're estimating.
Huge question. I do want to note one thing, Omar, because while we're standing here, the last time we saw
Guys, the reason why she's talking fast because I got the speed at 1.25 chat. That's why she's talking fast. She's not on Adderall.
all these two leaders in a room together holding a press conference was at the White House back in February. That was when President Trump had this idea of the United States taking over Gaza and relocating people from Gaza because he said they just couldn't live there given the level of destruction that is present in Gaza. This plan is basically the opposite of that. It says not only can they stay, that no one will be forced to leave, that they will be guaranteed return should they choose to leave. It also says they are going to actively encourage them to stay in Gaza while they rebuild it. So that obviously is a huge change as well. But yes, it was a striking moment to see President Trump come out here with another world leader and not take questions at such a sensitive moment. But it does speak to the fact that they are hoping to get this over the line, and they don't want any of their comments clearly to derail this potentially as they wait to see what Hamas says in response to this.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks, Caitlin, to the fragility of this moment, right? Even as it is extraordinary to see these two leaders together.
Yeah, and one thing I'll note, I did try to stand up and ask a question there at the end as the president was saying, you know, he wasn't going to take any, is whether or not Hamas has this deal in its hands, or whether or not they're just seeing it posted online by the White House, all 20 points. Obviously, a lot of them that Hamas doesn't want to agree to, but the question is whether or not they will. That does speak to the nature of whether or not all of this is where it is. I've been talking to a lot of White House officials over the weekend. They were hopeful that they are closer than they've ever been, and they've certainly felt close before for things to only fall apart. And so that is really the next question here in terms of, does this actually get over the line? We're not there yet. We just simply aren't. And so if we get there, certainly it could happen if Hamas says yes, but that is no indication that they have said yes yet, or whether or not they even actually have this plan from the White House yet.
We need to know this modest withdrawal. What does that mean? Because that's been one of the big hangups, chat, as I've been explaining to you guys, is them not permanently withdrawing. So what the hell does this moderate withdrawal mean?
Caitlin Collins, stay close. Appreciate the reporting live in the room as this press conference, or as these comments from the heads of state wrapped up. I want to bring in Jeremy Diamond as well, because Jeremy, in recent days, you spoke with Hamas leadership, and
we watched that interview yesterday, guys, if you remember. We watched him talk to one of the Hamas spokesperson that was supposed to be assassinated, by the way. Oh, and by the way, if you guys like the hat, it's in the store. Myron Gaines X store, MyronGainesX.store. Okay, we got some new merch in there as well.
some of what we have seen come out of this plan, this 20-point plan, seems to go in direct conflict with what Hamas seems to want at this point. I mean, you just look at one saying that Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee. It also mentions that some of these frameworks will happen in the meantime, that the Palestinian Authority can then come in at a point later on down the line. Is there anything that stood out to you in this plan, this framework that was reached between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump that may just be non-starters for Hamas as we wait to hear how they react to this framework?
Yeah, well, there's no question already that Hamas will not like the fact that this plan calls for it to be completely demilitarized without any guarantees about the establishment of a Palestinian state. When I interviewed senior Hamas official Ghazi Hamad last week, he made clear that the only scenario in which Hamas envisioned giving up its weapons would be in the context of establishing a Palestinian state. But I do have to say, in going through the 20-point plan here, this is an absolutely extraordinary plan that we are seeing here for several reasons. One of which is that this is a take it or leave it offer to Hamas. But it is also a plan in which Israel and the United States can very much move forward even if Hamas disagrees. In fact, this plan lays out two potential pathways, and in both of these pathways, Israel would basically agree to gradually hand over territory that it has conquered to an international security force. This is the first time that Israel has ever agreed or even been willing to publicly discuss the idea of handing over territory to an international force, to actually talking about post-war governance of Gaza, let alone agreeing to a plan that would lead to that kind of post-war governance of Gaza. For the last 2 years, those plans have largely been discussed very quietly behind closed doors. But for the Israeli
And what they've basically been doing, guys, I could give you a quick little summary on this. This post-war governance, right, would be basically a conglomerate of the Gulf states, the United States, Israel, and other powers. But here's the thing, though. They haven't been solid about this. They don't know, or they haven't been explicit, if there's going to be any type of Palestinian representation, or if there is Palestinian representation, this conglomerate of, transitional power. They don't know if it's going to be a fair representation, right? So what does that mean? That means basically the U.S., Israel, Saudi Arabia, probably Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, all these different countries, Egypt, would set up a board, right, running the Gaza Strip. Now, there were some talks of Palestinians being represented. There were some talks of them not being represented. But the most important thing is this. The Palestinians are not going to get their rights to self-determination whatsoever with this plan. They're just not. Okay? At best, it's going to be other Arab Muslim countries that come in and run shit. There might be some Palestinian representation, but it's not going to be enough to be a decisive decision maker in the area. Does that make sense? So they're still going to be occupied, right? And I could see Hamas potentially declining this deal because they're like, well, dude, we're not even going to hand it over to Palestinians. We're going to hand it over to this international board of people who aren't even Palestinian. So we'll see. I mean, that could be one of the pushbacks. I mean, we'll see what happens when they get how they respond to this deal. But this seems to be the best thing that they put forward so far.
Israeli Prime Minister to be agreeing to a plan that would eventually, gradually lead to the withdrawal of Israeli forces and handing over some of that territory to an international security force is truly extraordinary. In these two pathways, in one of them, you see that Israeli forces...
And that tells me there's probably not going to be much, if any, Palestinian representation if the Israelis are willing to give it away to a mix and match security force of different entities.
Forces would withdraw to agreed upon lines if Hamas agrees to release the hostages within the next 72 hours. But if Hamas refuses, Israel would continue its offensive. And once it has conquered territory, it would eventually hand over that territory to this international security force. Now, this plan doesn't lay out how quickly that would actually take place. But once again, it is the first time that we have ever seen Israel agree to any such notion. This plan also indicates that Israel must significantly increase the flow of aid to Gaza in either scenario, whether Hamas agrees or whether it doesn't. But Omar, one major question still does remain here, and that is over the fate of these 48 hostages should Hamas reject this proposal. If Hamas rejects this proposal, you don't see any other mention in here of how Israel is going to get those hostages back other than through military means, which so far have proved largely and wildly unsuccessful in getting these hostages back. And so I think that is still a major question here for the family.
Yeah, they're going to keep doing what they're doing, That's an automatic. Let me see here if there's anything that outlines it. If not, then I'll just read it to you guys.
Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East, and let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East. So this is far more than anybody expected, but the level of support that I've had from the nations in the Middle East and surrounding Israel and neighbors of Israel has been incredible, incredible. Every single one of them. This afternoon, after extensive consultation with our friends and partners throughout the region, I'm formally releasing our principles for peace, which people have really liked, I must say. And these are done not just routinely done, these are done with total consideration and working with the nations that we're talking about. All of these nations have made contributions to those suggestions. I want to thank the leaders of many Arab and Muslim nations for their tremendous support in developing the proposal, along with many of our allies in Europe. Europe has been very much involved.
Carlos V. Okay, let me read some chats here, guys, because so we don't miss out. Okay, Padawan Slayer says Israel runs the U.S. government. We should try him for treason. Padawan Slayer again says, imagine trying bitch boy Netanyahu for treason. Okay. George says, hey, Fear, if there was a battle royale with all serial killers from the 60s and 70s onwards, who would you think came out on top? That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Cage says, 2, are we pressed for time, as you said? Okay, yeah, that was from before. Kumo says, almost 72 hours ago now, Al-Qassam asked Israel to move below Street 8 and stop air assaults as they have lost contact with 2 officers, Amiri Moran and Matan Angris. Okay, interesting. OSS Vasquez, will Gaza be a territory of the U.S., a future tourist spot? I predict it will be. New promo code. Jays did 9/11, 9/10, and 10. Okay. FNF Our Gods says, hey, Myron, what are your thoughts about a potential government shutdown? Always happens, bro. There's always that threat. Ian says, even if they resolve this conflict, it's not like he's going to step down or hold an election right after this conflict. Better be sure, Ian, Iran is going to kick off, so he doesn't need to give up his reign. By the way, UK said they're at war with Russia. I believe Poland said the same. Russia announced a draft today. Interesting. Yeah, very scary times, guys. Elise says, did Israel push Trump's peace plan only after realizing it couldn't steamroll Hamas or conquer Gaza outright? Well, I think the Israelis are in a transition period, and I'll talk about that here as well. Blitz Hayes, funny, real, don't watch on YouTube. Okay. While it's off, love OSS 300, bro, asked for help on a gym topic, literally a direct response, or shout out to Angelo. If you ain't broke, you can add value to join 100%, or for the YouTube broke, you just join the OSS and you can react to the Jubilee on OSS. Yeah, absolutely, bro. You got to join, guys. Only $1 to join. Or OSS 300 for the real ninjas. Del Rey says, if Hamas releases the hostages, they can pretty much kiss what's left of Gaza goodbye. Fucker Israel. Okay. Deuce says, yo, Myron, I'm 20 from Minneapolis and started landscaping outdoor property maintenance business this year. Planning on getting my first rental property. Wondering if that qualifies for OSS 300. We just want guys that, have a skill set, dude. And I mean, you could join if you want, but we want you to be able to add value back to everybody else. And it's only $98 a month. So, I don't want guys like canceling a shit like that. We want it where that $98 is nothing for you. So if it's, you got to think about it, might not be the move. Padawan Stars, moderate withdrawal equal Velvet Dagger. Okay. Krista, 99, subscribe. Welcome. Padawan Stars says, if they're smart, they're building weapon caches deep underground because who the fuck would trust these niggas? Yeah, facts. Victorious. Hey, Myron, modest means it doesn't mean what the Palestinians do. Israel will keep attacking them. Bibi will say they didn't honor the peace treaty, of course. You're a maggot. Hey, Myron, just want to let you know you're my favorite racist. Okay, I appreciate that. Timber says, what do you think about Trump saying he will cut federal funding to NYC if they elect Mamdani? I've always been MAGA, but this feels too far. He's just not respecting voters. Yeah, I did see that. That he basically threatened Mamdani and said that, hey, you're not going to get any White House support. That's going to be interesting because I have been very curious as to how Mamdani would fund a lot of these initiatives he's trying to push in New York with, freezing rent, free buses and trains and all this other stuff. I have been trying to figure out how he's going to do that. George, I'll say Ed Kemper might have a chance. Nigo 6A, absolute unit and high IQ. Yeah, Ed Kemper was huge. He was big motherfucker. Okay, so real quick, right? Let's go ahead and cover, all right, what are the Oslo Accords? All right, the Oslo Accords, guys, here they are. As you guys can see here, this historic photo of Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin in 1993 in the White House lawn. Long story short, it's this. It was an agreement of a framework between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Yasser Arafat, who's not alive anymore, and Yitzhak Rabin, who's not alive anymore, struck this deal, under the guidance of Clinton. They basically met in Oslo secretly for many months, if not a year plus, where they were, negotiating this thing. To sum it up for you guys, it's this. The Palestinians, aka Yasser Arafat, they gave up 3 things. They conceded that they recognize Israel as a sovereign state with the right to defend itself and exist. He denounced violence and obviously wanted to work towards some type of two-state solution, right? This was very important for the Israelis because a lot of these Arab countries, especially back then, did not acknowledge Israel as an independent state. So this was huge, where the Palestinians would actually recognize Israel as a state that has the right to exist and exist in peace. And Yasser denounced violence. On the Israeli side, Yitzhak Rabin said that Israel would recognize what's called the Palestinian Authority, which is what you heard Benjamin Netanyahu talking about. And the Palestinian Authority operates out of the West Bank, right, which is the big region over on the border of Jordan. And what they were supposed to do was they would have this agreement up front, and then this would create the framework for them to go ahead and create a some type of two-state solution where the Palestinians would get some type of ability to have some self-determination. But Israel formally recognized the Palestinian Authority as an entity representing the Palestinians, which was also big. Now, I want to be very clear about this for you guys, okay? Both parties endured a significant amount of criticism from their constituents. So on the Palestinian side, Yasser Arafat got attacked by the Palestinians saying he was a sellout. You know, he didn't barter hard enough. He didn't negotiate hard enough. Why are we going out and striking a deal with these guys? They stole our land, blah, blah, blah. And then on the Israeli side, Yitzhak Rabin was getting a lot of heat from Israelis saying that he was giving in to the Palestinians. They don't want peace, blah, blah, blah. So both parties suffered quite a bit of criticism and hate for negotiating these deals. That's why they had to do the deal in secret for many months, if not years, prior to being signed. That's why it's called the Oslo Accords, because they privately met in Oslo, right, to negotiate the terms of this thing. Now, when I say the Oslo Accords were the closest thing to some type of two-state solution, what I mean by that is that it was a framework to get us there. But here's the problem. Your boy Benjamin Netanyahu, right, which I don't want to make accusations, but Yitzhak Rabin got assassinated about a year after this deal was struck, right? And he was assassinated by a guy who was a far-right member of the Likud party, right? Many speculate, to include Yitzhak Rabin's widow, that Netanyahu had something to do with this because Netanyahu never liked the Oslo Accords. He never wanted to give the Palestinians a state. So after Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, Netanyahu became prime minister of Israel not too much longer after that, okay? And he's been caught, right, on multiple occasions admitting that there will never be a two-state solution and that he's purposely sabotaged the Oslo Accords, right? Remember, the Oslo Accords that Yitzhak Rabin put into place. He sabotaged them on several different occasions, by using certain language, saying, oh, well, this doesn't count, this counts, blah, 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 blah. Basically, these treaties, these agreements were almost always vaguely worded, right, in a way where the Israelis have some kind of plausible deniability. So when Yitzhak Rabin died, Netanyahu was able to interpret the Oslo Accords however he wanted, and it never ended up, coming to full fruition like it was supposed to, because obviously Yasser Arafat then had to start negotiating with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu is, far less reasonable when it comes to this stuff, because the reality is he doesn't want a two-state solution whatsoever. So this obviously hurt diplomacy quite a bit. So that's what the Oslo Accords were, guys. They were a framework to eventually get to a two-state solution, but was, sadly destroyed because Israel killed the only prime minister that tried to make it happen. Now, the Abraham Accords, all right, not to be confused with the Abraham Accords, this is a more modern agreement. And this was struck in 2020 between Israel and several Arab nations, okay? Bahrain, UAE, Morocco, and Sudan, right? And they joined later on, December of 2020 and January of 2021. But the first ones to sign were the UAE and Bahrain. And what this basically did, guys, was this agreement allowed for these Arab countries to recognize Israel as a state. Now, why is this so important? Since 1948, guys, in the creation of Israel, the Arab world has never recognized Israel. Many of these Arab countries have had a hostility. They didn't recognize them as a state. They look at it like, you guys stole Palestinian land, so we're never going to accept you guys. So this was a big deal that Donald Trump brokered. But here's the problem, and this comes back to what I told you guys before, why Hamas attacked. The Oslo Accords were not set in stone. Trump wanted to expand on the Oslo Accords and bring more Muslim countries in. As a matter of fact, when Trump left office in 2020, after his 2020, and Biden took over, before October 7th happened, Biden actually had a meeting planned with Saudi Arabia and some other countries to bring them into the Oslo Accords. Biden was going to expand it. And Hamas and the Palestinians knew that if they did not intervene, right, and stop this deal from happening, that the Palestinian question would never get answered. And this is what Netanyahu's been doing for a very long time, where Netanyahu goes around, right, the Palestinians to get peace with their neighbors without handling the Palestinian question. So the Palestinians looked at it like, okay, one of our main leverage, one of our main pieces of leverage is the fact that none of these Arab nations want to accept Israel or recognize Israel, right, to conduct diplomacy and do business and trade and all this other stuff. We're going to lose that. So we need to make a move now, because they knew that if they went ahead and attacked Israel and then a war began, there's no way any of these countries would join the Abraham Accords in the middle of a war. Now, obviously, they, miscalculated how hard Israel was going to hit them back. I don't think they anticipated they would hit them back this hard. But I guess the plan worked, because MBS himself, Mohammed bin Salman, the ruler of Saudi Arabia, said that he would not recognize Israel until the Palestinians had a sovereign state, right? So that is an overview, guys, of the Oslo Accords and then the Abraham Accords, all right? Give me ones if that makes sense, guys. I hope that I didn't go too fast there for you guys, but you guys should now have a good understanding of what these agreements are, because a lot of people confuse the two. Let's see here. We'll watch a little bit of this, then we'll go to our girl, Brett Cooper. What do we got here? Okay, call me crazy, but I don't think he'll be able to implement the free trains and buses this way to get elected. Might even try to push Islam. I don't know about that, bro. Fadi Bear, Dollar, Darth Insidious, as a U.S. Army targeting officer with 19 years of active service in multiple deployments, I reject prime ministers that claim that Israel strikes in Gaza have produced less than a 2-to-1 civilian to combat ratio. That figure has never been backed by transparent data. Absolutely, I agree. In contrast, leaked Israeli military, yep, you're right, yep. 83% of the people killed have been civilians. So he's saying Israeli military records reviewed by reputable outlets show that about 83% of those killed through May 2025 were civilians, is a much closer ratio of 5-to-1, and conflict monitors such as ACLAD have documented later phases approaching 15-to-1. Any government claiming compliance with the law in armed conflicts owes the public verifiable numbers, not slogans or self-serving ratios. Appreciate that, Darth Insidious. So we got a military guy here giving us that. So yeah, it goes. So basically, you're saying it's from as low as 5-to-1 all the way to 15-to-1. Thank you for that, dude. Netanyahu's claim to attempt to claim moral superiority over U.S. operations also distorts reality. Precision does not negate physics. A JDAM-guided 1,000-pound or 2,000-pound bomb as the MK-83 or MK-84 still produce a massive blast of fragmentation effects and dense urban predictable secondary detonations. Fair enough. Darth Insidious, without careful yields, selection, and engagement geometry, those effects translate into highly collateral damage to civilian casualties. Appreciate that, bro. Very, very informative. So Boosted says, Max Body's Emily Saves America on Pierce Morgan. She's, that's crazy, dude. She's, this chick is, she's become a Israeli Hasbara propagandist too, which is kind of funny. Let me see here. What's going on? Oh, no, this isn't. Looks like we got a debate here. Look at this real quick.
I was in that meeting. I posted the video. The video that you played was my video. If you watch the video for yourself, he never said that. I was asking Bibi about what do we do in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination and the rise of the woke right, with people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson creating chaos online, even with things like Tyler Robinson saying that he wasn't the assassin when he's confessed to it, trying to get a mistrial for him and not get justice for Charlie Kirk. So I was asking Bibi, because I wrote a paper when I was in college, as Max mentioned, about the similarities between the GOP.
This isn't Emily Saves America, but close enough. I see what you're saying, Subos. It's another bimbo. And if you guys are wondering, this chick right here, I forget her name. It might be Deborah Lee or some shit like that. She was at a meeting with Netanyahu after his UN appearance, and they were talking about how they're going to combat, what they call the woke right, people that are critical of Israel in the conservative space. Demetrius says, "Yo, Myron, would I be a good join OSS 300? Yes, bro, absolutely. You also have a unique skill set in a business. Kumodi. Ismail al-Throwback, now new official Hamas spokesperson, has already said any delay without sovereignty will be rejected. Also, PIJ is rejected, but the PA is willing to accept." Okay, interesting.
Party and the identities and
thanks for that update.
The values of the Republican Party under Trump, and how the Likud Party in Israel under Benjamin Netanyahu has similar ideologies and values, and they're cut from the same ideological cloth. I didn't say.
No, they're not. the Likud party literally openly says we need to get rid of all these Palestinians and ethnically cleanse them. The Likud party, and here's the crazy part with the Likud party, Benjamin Netanyahu is the most moderate of that party. That's what makes this even crazier.
Say that the Likud party controls the GOP. I literally wrote that they just have similar ideological values, which I hold as a conservative Jew. So as far as buying TikTok, we saw in that video.
She's clearly too stupid to realize what what the Likud party stands for. Carlos says, checking out Marching to Zion by Pastor Stephen Anderson, exposing the Jays and their lies. He was censored by YouTube before censored mainstream from Carlos V. Yeah, absolutely, he was.
Every single person here and nearly every single commentator agrees. I've never received $1,
one would know
so that's
who
a
you
cheap
were if
shot.
Netanyahu
Keep trying.
didn't buy you.
My bank accounts.
You wouldn't even be here
honey,
if Netanyahu hadn't bought you.
I'm still talking. That's not true.
And
I've
you're
been on
lying,
Fox
and
hundreds
you're
of
lying.
times.
What
I was
you
a huge
represent-
TikToker
what
in
you-
2020. I'm not lying. You're a liar. Anyway, I wasn't done
you're lying
talking.
about
Every
me,
single
and we
person
know
here, and
you're
every
lying
single
'cause
political
your lips are
commentator,
moving.
and the Trump administration will acknowledge that TikTok is a grave threat to the United States if it was controlled by China. All of us have acknowledged how China can influence the United States through TikTok, through videos, through making us dumber, through putting out
I need to get back on one of these panels, bro, so I can cook.
propaganda, whatever it is. Same with X. Why do you
And
think
so
Elon
Israel
Musk
has
bought
to buy
X?
it
Because we
and buy
recognize
you.
the free speech issues on there under Mark
Why is it
Zuckerberg.
that
So the
every single
question
time,
and
though,
the
an
answer that Bibi
American
gave
All right,
female
is that
Jew-
weapons
let's
of
hear
war
from
change
Katie.
in modern
Okay,
times,
Deborah,
and
let's hear-
social media is absolutely
Okay,
a
let
weapon
time
of
out.
war.
Let's hear from Katie.
I just don't understand.
Wait,
I just
no.
don't understand. Every
Sorry,
time
unless your name
an
is
American
Katie, please
female
don't
Jew
now
speaks-
speak. Katie.
Every time an American female Jew speaks in our country, it is that they're bought and paid for by the Israelis. Why is it that every single time a Jew has an opinion, they must be therefore bought and paid for by the Israeli government? Can they not just have an opinion that is valid and not be bought and paid for? I just do not understand.
Well, who paid
to
for
me,
Deborah's
it's
trip,
standards and
propaganda
it is
trip
wrong.
to Israel?
And let
Bruh. Oh, man. Okay. All right. So we went over this.
TikTok and that make it.
Let's go ahead and quickly
And as I
go
was
through
told by
this.
Many of the European leaders, most of them saying, is this true? Are you really doing peace in the Middle East? This is the most incredible thing we've heard. Some think it's the biggest thing they've ever heard.
All right, instead of him yapping. So basically, guys, here's the deal, okay, with the points. First, there'd be an immediate ceasefire. Both sides agree. The war ends immediately. Israeli forces withdraw to agreed lines. That's the moderate pullback that he was talking about. Suspending all military operations while battle lines freeze. Then there would be a hostage and prisoner exchange within 72 hours of Israel's acceptance. All hostages alive and deceased return. Israel releases 250 life sentence Palestinians, 1,700 Gazans detained post October 7, 2023, plus remains of 15 Gazans per Israeli hostage remains. So basically, there would be a hostage swap. Okay, so ceasefire followed by hostage swap. They get Israel gets all their people back, roughly 48, if I'm not mistaken, 48 to 50 people, and then Gaza gets back, or the Palestinians get about 1,700 people back. Then Hamas would disarm. Humanitarian aid, full aid would resume immediately upon acceptance, matching January 19, 2025 agreement levels. As you guys know, before Trump was sworn in, they had a huge amount of food coming in. It's probably the most aid they ever got was during that period where there was some peace between January up until March. Then there was a transitional governance, which we discussed before. Gaza run by a political Palestinian committee with international experts for daily services. Then there would be a de-radicalization and security. Gaza becomes terror-free zone. Basically, they would remove the last remnants of Hamas, and then reconstruction economy. Trump-led panel creates economic development plan synthesizing global ideas for jobs and investment, which is that plan that I showed you guys before. They would basically turn the place into a fucking resort, right? Which we talked about before. Did you see criminal charges dropped against Andrew Tate? Yes, I might cover that more tomorrow. Might cover that in more detail tomorrow, because obviously we got Money Monday today. All right, let's go ahead, guys, and cover. All right, do you guys want Brett Cooper or where she says women don't date red pill guys, or do you guys want the Portland protest? What do you guys want, Cooper or Portland protest? I'll let you guys pick. Also, guys, do me a favor, smash that like button. And we're only 11 away from 5,200, guys. Do me a favor, smash that like button. And we're only 11 away on OSS to hit our goal of 5,200. All right, we'll quickly cover Portland then, I guess. But yeah, smash that like button, guys. Join the OSS Ninjas.
News. This is breaking news.
That breaking news tonight: clashes between federal officers and demonstrators outside of the ICE facility in southwest Portland. The tension ratcheting up as soon as the sun went down. It's a noticeable difference from earlier in the evening. That video on the left side of your screen showing protesters marching from the building to the building right now from southwest Portland.
And for those of you that are wondering, there's huge protests going on in Portland against ICE. And there was some talk about the National Guard being deployed there as well.
Circling the building before leaving. Very different scenario now with that video on your right. Thank you so much.
If you use a 1-month code, yes, you can go ahead and get in for the year.
Much for joining us for K2 News at 11. I'm Barry Mann.
Use code JFK911.
We have a lot to get to. Tonight's clash is kicking off less than 24 hours after this announcement from President Trump. He posted to Truth Social saying, quote, "At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to..."
Yeah, they renamed which is kind of funny. They renamed the Secretary of Defense to the Secretary of War. You know, to kind of be a bit more nostalgic, I guess.
Protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary. And we want to show you where this is all happening in relation to downtown Portland. You can see this is the ICE facility location there off of South McAdam Avenue. The building is south of the city near a Tesla dealership and several other apartment complexes. K2 News has previously reported on a lawsuit filed by one woman claiming the city was not doing enough to stop the noise from the nightly clashes outside the building. Now we want to get to our reporter, K2's Jennifer Singh, who spent hours in front of the ICE building tonight. She witnessed those peaceful protests before things started to change. So Jennifer, city leaders stress peace today and not taking the bait by resorting to violence. Did it work out?
Well, Barry, I guess that's up for you guys to find out with the videos. Now, like you said, tensions did rise throughout the evening. In the early hours, we did see things remain very peaceful, but like you said, it was after the sun went down when things started to get a little bit physical. We saw a few instances of that, and we do know at least one person was taken into custody after a physical confrontation with officers. Now, some people we spoke...
Yeah, they were hitting them with like fucking paintball guns and everything.
With this evening tell me that's exactly why they believe federal troops are needed in Portland.
If Portland's not going to protect their citizens, these people are tax-paying citizens, they have their homes here, he's got to do something. I think he just wants to see America safe and following the law, but Portland's politicians don't want to do that.
And other people worry that an increased federal presence will do the opposite of protecting the peace, referencing back to the Portland protests in 2020.
I just remember watching night after night everything that was going on with the interactions between police and protesters, and I'm just worried that we're going to see things blow up like they did in 2020, and it's because our president and the federal government, they're looking for a fight.
Now, again, there are still a lot of questions we need the answers to, such as when the troops would arrive, how many of them, and what they would be tasked to do. We did reach out to the White House today to see if we could get those questions answered. We got a timeline back explaining what has happened outside of the ICE facility dating back to June of this summer. Now, we are still working to get those answers, but we will bring them to you as soon as possible. For now, live in downtown Portland tonight, Jennifer Singh, K2 News. Barry.
Now, as you guys know, they kind of did this first in Washington, D.C., where they had the troops out there and they noticed that crime went down significantly. So they're going to basically do this in other cities in America that have problems. I think Memphis was one, Chicago was one that was proposed, and now they're talking about Portland.
Jennifer, thank you for that. And you may have noticed at home watching that Jennifer and our crew was not at the ICE facility. That is because demonstrators threatened their physical safety about 90 minutes ago. Our security team, who's with them now, moved them inside of their vehicle, and protesters were heard discussing our parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, and plans to target our crew if they exited the vehicle. The crew was simply trying to report on an important local news story happening in our community, but their safety is our first priority. So we moved them from the ICE facility to avoid further physical threats. And earlier today, Oregon Governor Tina Kotek sending a clear message to the White House following the president's announcement.
President Trump's inconceivable
Bro, that Yep. Wouldn't imagine anything different, huh?
insistence that we need federal troops in Portland does not address the real concerns in our communities.
Bruh.
We do not need or want federal troops in Oregon stoking fear, creating conflict.
This is Super Saiyan levels of Karen.
And frankly, escalating a situation that is under control.
In general, it could shut this down, which would be great.
Guys, smash that like button. We got 3,100 plus of you guys in here on YouTube alone. We got about we got about 5,000 you guys watching, man. So do me a favor, smash that like button, guys. Smash that like button on YouTube.
We can have our community back. We can sleep at night.
Kotek also wrote on social media that her office had not been notified why the troops were being deployed. Governor Kotek pushed further for more answers. She spoke with both Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and President Trump after seeing that social media post. Here's what she had to say about her conversation with the president.
He thinks there are elements here that create an insurrection. I told him there is no insurrection here and that we have this under control. I have complete faith in Portland Police and Chief Day to make sure that we're holding people accountable if they cross the line.
The governor says that she will not approve the use of the Oregon National Guard. Portland Mayor Keith Wilson said today that he will also be sending a message to the White House.
On Monday, I will gather with a dozen regional mayors to sign a joint statement modeled after that of Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, who received the same ugly threat of military deployment as Portland now has.
And Chicago's Mayor Johnson said in his statement that the president's approach is uncoordinated, uncalled for, and unsound. Local leaders are urging Portlanders to...
These guys are so pissed off. They're looking at it like Trump is, undermining and subverting them by bringing the National Guard over, saying, hey, we need to clean up these streets. You guys aren't doing a good job. They look at it as a slap to the face, obviously.
Respond to the federal agents with peace. Governor Kotek said the best way to stand in opposition to the Trump administration is to lean into supporting your community and making things better in Portland. And local leaders are reacting to President Trump sending federal troops to Portland. Former Oregon Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer posting this on X in part, saying, quote, "I've seen firsthand how lawlessness has transformed Portland from a beautiful place to live to a crime-ridden war zone."
And that's the libs' fault for that, destroying cities and defunding the police and all this other crap, man.
She went on.
Portland was ground zero during the BLM riots, guys. One of the worst places to be, man.
On to thank President Trump.
Seattle as well.
For doing something to keep ICE facilities protected and America safe. Chavez DeRemer is currently the U.S. Labor Secretary for the Trump administration. Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley, meanwhile, also responding. Merkley posted in part on social media that the president wants to stoke fear and chaos and trigger violent interactions and riots to justify expanded authoritarian control. Merkley urges the city to not take the bait and asserts that Portland is peaceful. The senator echoed similar sentiments from last night's news conference with Mayor Keith Wilson, which was put together in response to the president's announcement. And Portland Police Chief Bob Day was also at that press conference today. He says peace has always been his mission in his 3 decades serving the police bureau. He added that the president's announcement does not change that.
Portland Police Bureau continues to adhere to the rule of law. We are not engaged in immigration enforcement. We are not participating or supporting.
And that is why ICE is coming down on you guys now, because you guys do not do anything with immigration, bro. That's precisely why they're doing this shit.
Any kind of immigration administrative work.
Chief Day says an alphabet of federal law enforcement are here to provide protection for the ICE building. He does not specify which federal officers are in Portland because he says...
I saw a bunch of BORTAC guys from Border Patrol, which BORTAC guys is Border Patrol's tactical unit, or BORSTAR, which is like their rescue unit. I seen a bunch of those guys whenever I looked at clips at people getting arrested in Portland.
He is not sure. And earlier tonight,
They moved a lot of Border Patrol agents all over the country, by the way, chat. Since they closed down the border, they've been able to move those resources to interior cities, which I've never seen before.
Law professor at Lewis and Clark.
And I was talking to a buddy, actually this morning from HSI. He told me pretty much everybody's doing immigration enforcement, bro. They're not even doing, they're not doing criminal cases to the same level that they used to do when I was on the job. Everyone is involved in immigration enforcement. That's like goal number one.
Talked with us about the president's authority to send troops to cities like Portland.
And as you guys know, I've explained to you, HSI's missions, we don't really do immigration enforcement like that, right? Unless it has to do with a criminal investigation. But everyone's been pretty much detailed doing straight up catching illegal aliens.
He said that Trump likely does have authority in certain situations. Take a listen. Does the legal kind of situation change, in your opinion, if these are not National Guard troops, but instead these are agents from various federal agencies?
That is different. Okay, so the reason it matters if it's military troops versus federal law enforcement agents.
Probably going to talk about Posse Comitatus.
Is that there's a law called the Posse Comitatus
Oh,
Act.
let's go. I didn't watch this beforehand, chat. Yeah, this is like the #1 law that they always cite whenever they complain about Trump utilizing the military and National Guard to help law enforcement.
That forbids the military from being used for domestic law enforcement unless Congress authorizes it. So the default is you can't use the military to do ordinary arrests, crime control, and so on.
This is a big reason when we had National Guard guys helping us out, because when I was on the job, we have a lot of National Guard guys that help out with child pornography cases and counter drug. They'd be only in an analyst position. They wouldn't really be able to like hit the doors with us anytime we made arrests or anything like that. And it's because of this law that he's talking about right now with Posse Comitatus. Quick word from our sponsor, ninjas. Okay, guys, quick word from the sponsor, because we sponsor ourselves over here. Me on Instagram, they demonetized me on YouTube, they banned me on Facebook, they banned me on Twitch. The ADL and the SPLC put me on their hit list, as well as Media Matters. That tells you everything you need to know. They don't want you to hear what I have to say, and that's exactly why the OSS Army exists. The OSS is my uncensored army, where the truth prevails over all the lies. But OSS isn't just content, guys, it's a movement. It doesn't feel like a group, it's a force, it's an army. Inside the community, you connect with like-minded individuals that aren't afraid to question the narrative. 46,000 plus strong, pushing towards 10,000. Every new member makes the message louder, and they can't censor all of us. This is where you can speak freely and not have to be worried about being judged, fired, labeled a hater, anti-Semite, misogynist, or any of these other stupid-ass buzz terms that they like to use for people that are critical thinkers. The movement goes beyond the live stream. We build a community, we're able to have discussions, we're able to go ahead and interact with each other the way that we want, where we don't have to worry about censorship. We have a Telegram group where you can connect with like-minded guys. We have a Discord that's completely free, and we do one annual meetup per year in Miami on 420. You'll also get access to exclusive live streams you won't find on YouTube, call-in portions of the show, and other goodies that you won't find anywhere else. And even the merch is a part of the mission. But it's not about fashion, it's about an identity. You have the ability to think critically and challenge the narrative. High quality Nike gear, and not ridiculously branded, that allows you to identify each other without being too overt and understanding that you know what the hell is up. So you can go ahead and move covertly with your red pill awareness compared to other blue pill normies. All of this for just $10 a month, or you can join for the year, use JFK 911 as a promo code, and you get in for $50 for the year. This isn't just content, it's resistance, it's culture, and it's freedom. It's the OSS Army. Bam, and use the code JUICE911, guys, to get in right now. Shout out to Brett with the awesome... That shit was lit. I ain't gonna lie, man. Shout out to Brett. Great video. But yeah, guys, use the code right now, JUICE911, excuse me. We are only 11 away, guys, by the way, of hitting my goal of 5,200. So support the mission, guys. You guys know I'm demonetized. YouTube is robbing me, so jump in, use that code. Link is in the description, well, it's in the chat right now. So I'll put it in a few times for you guys to get in. I'll run it to the end of the month, this ad. Okay. Also, I'm going to be reacting, guys, to the Tucker Carlson for OSS only. As you guys know, Tucker Carlson did a multiple-part series on 9/11. I'm going to react to that on OSS only. It's a 5-part series, really good. Not going to do it on YouTube because then you'll get hit with copyright and shit. So I'm going to do it on OSS only. Okay, it's actually good. I watched it. It was like 5 parts. Really good stuff. So we'll definitely watch that. So yeah, smash that like button. Join the OSS. We're only 11 away from the goal of hitting 5,200. Let's get into Brett Cooper now. Okay. She made this video, Why Women Don't Want to Date Red Pill Men. As you guys know, I've made fun of Brett Cooper a few times. I don't think she's really smart, and I don't think she gives really insightful commentary, to be honest with y'all. I think she's kind of like a, I mean, she talks about typical female gossip, drama, BS. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really consider her a real political commentator, honestly. You know, for those of you that aren't familiar with who she is, she used to work for the DailyWire. They, you know, dumped millions upon millions of dollars into her, you know, pushed her in. She became wildly popular. And then after Candace Owens was fired, Brett Cooper also ended up leaving the DailyWire. No one, I don't know, chat, did she ever like really talk about why she left? When she did leave originally, everyone thought it was because of Israel, but the reality is that that's not why she left. It was because of being critical of Israel. If I'm not mistaken, I think she wanted more creative control or something like that, and they didn't want that. So they got rid of her, and they took her channel, her TikTok, everything, and she had to make everything brand new. So she got an enormous amount of support during the transition period because, you know, this was, I think, them getting rid of Candace Owens and then Brett Cooper was the nail in the coffin. And ever since, Daily Wire's been suffering, basically been hemorrhaging. You know, Ben Shapiro has fallen into irrelevancy. He doesn't get nearly as many views despite his massive following. And I don't think she signed an NDA, right? Yeah, I think to this day she still hasn't explicitly said what got her off Daily Wire. But, you know, I'm not surprised. But we're going to react to this video of here because this isn't the first time she's come at the Red Pill. So we'll go ahead and see what this bimbo's got to say.
Feminism, toxic masculinity, red pill bros. How on earth are people supposed to find a partner and find love in this insane dating landscape? I've talked about this a lot. We have talked about the Gen Z mental health crisis, which in my opinion is just a loneliness epidemic. We are so lonely. We have literally been dubbed the loneliest generation. I know that we're trying to work on that, obviously, but even—
Yeah, that's for men, not women, though. Notice how she's attributing this loneliness thing to both genders, as if it's a problem for women too. No, it's a problem for men, not women. Women have no problem with being lonely, okay? Even a 2 out of 10 can still find someone to, you know, console her or make her feel better for so low sexual market value. Men don't get that privilege.
Even though that—
So already she's off.
Loneliness has been fostered through social media and COVID and all of these things, I think that the dating divide and the ideological divide has played a huge role. Wendy Walsh, who is a psychology professor at California State University, Channel Islands, and an ambassador for datingadvice.com, told Newsweek recently that, quote, in the last few years, males have become increasingly conservative, and the most liberal and progressive group in America is young females. The political polarization is already creating problems in the dating scene. People in their 20s are either not dating at all or competing for a very small group of people who match their political views. And guys, as I am sure you are well aware by just being young people and humans in this weird culture, I'm sure you are aware that this divide did not happen overnight. And so we need to look back over the political landscape in the 21st century to see how we got here, and most importantly, what solutions we can employ to actually fix the situation. But before we do, make sure that you like this episode and subscribe to our channel if you have not already. Talk about this all the time. I have been talking about this basically as long as I have been on the internet, and anyone who follows politics even remotely can see the way and understand the way that our culture has alienated men massively over the last decade to 25 years or so. And most recently, in my opinion, it has been the Me Too movement and the lasting impacts of that really unfairly generalized men as predators, which led to massive reputational damage. Innocent until proven guilty was basically thrown out in the courts of social media, in the actual courts of law. Like, that has just not been a thing anymore. There was and still is this attack on toxic masculinity, which stereotyped, you know, normal male traits like stoicism or assertiveness as being inherently harmful. And they even went so far as to say that things like football and hunting and just like normal male hobbies were actually very toxic and were hurting America and were oppressing women. Women would say, F the patriarchy. We want to stamp out the patriarchy. You literally have women who say, I'm a lesbian because I don't need men. I don't want men. I could literally survive without them. We don't need them as a society. And all of this has been the MO for years now. And therefore, society has shamed a whole generation of young men into thinking that they are inherently monsters or predators or less than.
It's kind of funny that she's saying this now because she's come at us quite a bit, saying that we're like red pill bros and insulting us and shit like that. But now she's like talking about, oh yeah, men are marginalized and they're like not a, you know, they're not taken seriously by society. They're ostracized.
Has turned them inward. It has made so many men insecure and feel like they don't actually have a place in our culture and our society, when in reality, You men are so important. I say this all the time. You are the backbone of civilization. You are the backbone of families. We literally cannot exist without you. And yet that has not been the message that you have been receiving from pundits, from Hollywood, from girls on college campuses, whatever it may be, from podcasters. That is not what you have been hearing. And interestingly, a recent British study revealed that nearly 50% of young men reported feeling that being a man is not a source of pride for them, which is just insane. That is the core part of your being. That should be something that you love about yourself. That is so integral to.
Well, that should tell you something, right? A lot of these transition, these people that are T's, most of the time when they're transitioning, it's men to women, not women to men. Why? Because a male's existence in modern day society is significantly harder than that of a woman. Right? I've told you guys this a million times. Men play the game on hard mode, and it's not just dating. Everything you got to fight tooth and nail to get as a guy.
Who you are, that you should be proud of. And the fact that 50% of young men say that that's not even a thing anymore. And this is what some of the participants had to say. Quote, there are a lot of negative stories about how men have treated women, which makes people assume that all men are the same, which isn't the case, commented one 20-year-old. Another young man said, there is a feeling that men are responsible for patriarchy and you feel a sense of guilt. Although things were this way before I was born and in spite of personal effort for equality, these men are trying. They have they've tried to respond, and yet they still are made to feel so guilty and so out of place. Another one said, social media is damaging to men's mental
I moved it to 1.5 speed.
health as a society. We have an expectation of what a man should be. This puts pressure on men to live up to this expectation. So in trying to connect this with current events, it's like, yeah, no wonder young men moved to the right. No wonder in 2024, young men came out in droves for Donald Trump and JD Vance, who, they might not be perfect men, but they are men who seem to be proud of being men. They are manlier men who have families and seem like the heads of their households. Young men can look up to them and maybe even see themselves in those two men. It's the reason why UFC has absolutely blown up. It's the reason why the male podcasting space is dominating right now, because they are speaking to multiple generations of men who've been ignored.
Well, not just there's the other thing too is that, female podcasts just suck. I mean, right now we're suffering through this right now. If you guys look at the top podcasts, they're all run by men because men have to be interesting. That's just the reality, right? We cannot coast on the way that we look. We cannot coast on our beauty or our charm, right? Women can do that, right? That's actually a big reason why she got pushed so hard, because in the conservative space as a female, if you're a moderate looking female, right, and you get pushed as a conservative, especially on a big platform like DailyWire, there's no way that you could fail. There's literally no way. You have to be a complete moron to fail, right? And if you guys look, actually, as a matter of fact, look at the girls that they're pushing with Israeli media. Emily Saves America, that Deborah Lee girl, whatever. Same fucking archetype, blonde bimbos.
For years right now. Millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha that is coming up. That is why the male podcasting space is dominating. We'll dive back in, but first, a quick word from our sponsor. Now, unless you're new here, you know that we have talked their natural inclinations as biological men. And unfortunately, when a whole society, when a whole political party turns against and villainizes one sex, you are not just going to move to healthy role models and find some common middle ground. It's not going to work like that. You are going to see the consequences of young men who fell through the cracks, who were left behind, who were villainized to no end, who were made to feel guilty. They are going to have to go somewhere, and often they're going to lash out, which leads us to the creation of...
It's funny that she's being, acknowledging men's problems, but she had no issue, criticizing me and Fresh, right, talking shit. That was a year ago or something like that. She was talking some smack. So, very, very interesting.
Of the red pill man, which is a hot topic in 2025. Whenever anybody brings up the red pill bros, if you talk about them, if you tweet at them, I feel like they're going to end up in this comment section. They're going to pop out to talk about their values, whatever.
You're damn right, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
But the red pill man is playing his own role in this very, very complicated and convoluted dating landscape. And these men, in my opinion, view modern feminism as a societal evil whose express goal is to oppress men. They believe that women hold unfair power in today's culture, which is definitely true.
That's a fact.
In our modern culture, and I agree with them.
Oh, okay, yeah.
On feminism, I agree that modern feminism has gone too far. It's shifted from being about equality and uplifting women to actually dominating men. They vocalize that. They do not hide that. That is something that they are proud of. They speak about. So these men are not wrong when it comes to any of those things. But
it's not even just dominating men. Because here's the problem, right? And I've talked about this. This is what I call the proverbial double dip when it comes to feminism. So the reason why feminism is so pernicious, guys, is it's very simple. Well, not simple, but let me kind of break this down for you guys. The reason why feminism is so pernicious is because it allows women to have the authority of a man, right? And the self-determination of a man. In other words, they can do every single thing a guy can do. Nothing holds them back. And as a matter of fact, we've created institutions for them to do everything a man can do by lowering standards, maybe like in a police force or with Title IX in sports, etc. Right? We've equalized it to a point where we will put detriment to ourselves to make it equal. Hence, look at like the WNBA, right? So we've allowed them to have the same authority, right? While watering down standards to do it as well, while simultaneously allowing them to keep their proverbial victim status / protected class / what I call lady treatment. So in other words, she reserves the right to be treated like a lady whenever she wants, but she also reserves the right to be looked at as an equal. And the reason why this is a problem is because this is how they skirt accountability, chat. Okay? This is how they skirt accountability. So let me explain what I mean by this. If you look at something like the Me Too era, right? Which actually, hell, is even going on right now. A woman is able to go ahead, hook up with a guy, right? Because she has her sexual freedom. And if she regrets the sex later, or maybe she didn't feel a certain type of way, or if she feels like she got finessed or moose or whatever, she can come back and claim that she was raped or assaulted. And due to the nature of her being a female and us living in a gynocentric society, the people are going to take her side and they're going to believe her. We've seen many men lose their livelihoods or lose their reputation for this. Literally today, guys, Andrew Tate and Tristan had their case out of the UK pretty much dismissed, right? I think there's like one person left or whatever. But why did that happen? Because women went to the authorities, made some lies up, etc. They give them the benefit of the doubt, and then it's on the guy to prove himself innocent. Because when you're charged with any type of sexual-related crime, you're guilty until proven innocent, especially in the Court of Appeals. There was an athlete, I forget his name, somebody in the chat's going to probably remind me, or is going to put it here. He spent a couple years in jail. And then the judge found him not guilty, and he was able to be released, but nothing happened to the woman. So this is what I'm talking about when we talk about this gross infantilization of women to the detriment of men. Because on paper, they're supposed to have all the power and authorities of a man, but they reserve the right to be treated like a fucking baby when it benefits them, it suits them. And this is a bullshit double standard, right? That not many people call out. I think the manosphere or the Redpill sphere are one of the few spheres that talk about this wild fucking double standard and this wild privilege that women are able to enjoy to the detriment of society. Now, look, I'm not here complaining, saying like, oh yeah, women, get all these fucking privileges. Ugh. I don't give a shit. I honestly think we should protect women. I do think that they shouldn't have to work. I do think that they're the protected and the more vulnerable class. And I do think that they need to be given a certain level of protection from a societal standpoint. My problem is that they want all the authority that men have as well. And then they basically fucking throw that shit off once they fuck up or something wrong happens, and then they play damsel in distress. So in other words, they never actually have to deal with the accountability or the consequences of their said action because they're able to cry and say, oh my God, I'm just a girl. And most of the time, society bends the knee and, concedes to them. And that's a big fucking problem. And this is something that not many people talk about in society because it's so taboo. To criticize women is, for a normie, a career ender. Right? We have these HR people put into all these Fortune 500 companies. You can't talk about these types of dynamics at work because they're going to call you a sexist or misogynist. So very few people can openly talk about this ridiculous topic, right? Let's get back to it.
Just stop with fighting that. They don't just stop by saying, hey, this is wrong, we disagree with that. Instead, they in turn idolize these hyper-dominant, quote-unquote, alpha traits. They have a perverted view of masculinity and femininity and a woman's role in society. They also very often lump women together and see us all as being inherently manipulative, interested only in exploiting men for their resources and their money and their status. And possibly the thing that turns me off the most is that they often assert that their manhood is something that is defined by how many women they can...
Okay. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is, again, why she's wrong. All women are gold diggers. Some are just better at hiding the shovel. I've been saying this for years, right? And what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is all women that are heterosexual are hypergamous to a degree, okay? Now, the way they exercise that hypergamy is different. Some women want a guy that's tall and good looking. Some women want a guy who has money. Some women want a guy who's charming and funny. Some women want all of it, right? Depending on a woman's sexual market value, that allows her to demand certain things. The more attractive the woman, the higher her standards could be and the more that she could demand, right? Now, shit, where was I going with this? Here, we'll go back to it because I think she's going to say something, then I'll...
Exploit. How many women they can sleep with, how many women they can... and exploiting men for their resources.
Oh, yes, the gold digger analogy. So, yeah, I say all women are gold diggers. Some are just better hiding the shovel, right? So what she doesn't realize here is that there's different ways for women to assess value in a guy with their hypergamy. Some girls might not overtly say, I want a rich guy. Some of them might say, oh, I want a guy that's ambitious. I want a guy that's hardworking. Whether they overtly say, I want a guy who has money or not, the bottom line is you guys need to understand this and understand a woman needs. Women are always looking for a future, okay? So if you don't have money now, you better have fucking ambition, right? If you don't have money now, you better be in school. You better be working towards getting money. And almost all women that are heterosexual have this embedded into their DNA. And there's nothing wrong with it, by the way, guys. This is human nature. This is biology. You know, I'm not here frowning upon her for saying it. What annoys me, and I find it funny, is that women will try to, like, you know, say they try to dance around and be like, no, we're not hypergamous. We're not interested in a guy that has money, but you are definitely interested in a guy who has a potential to make money. Okay, and that's the big fucking key. So don't fall for the bullshit when they say, oh, I'm not materialistic, I'm not a gold digger. They all are. Some are just better at being surreptitious about it. They'll use code words. I want a hard worker. I want a guy who's ambitious. I want a guy who has goals. What does that mean? Translation: you need to have the ability or the mindset to eventually create excess resources. If you don't have it now, that's fine, but you better be working towards it. Right?
Their money and their status, and possibly the thing that turns me off the most is that they often assert that their manhood is something that is defined by how many women they can exploit, how many women they can sleep with, how many women they can impregnate, how far they...
No, it's not that their manhood is based on that. It's their sexual market value that's based on that. So what Brett doesn't understand here is that, unlike women, right, men need to earn their value. So one of the most honest indicators that a guy is doing something right is if he has the ability to sleep with a lot of women. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you guys, oh yeah, smash as many girls as you can, because that dictates your value. But it is a very honest indicator of where you stand in the sexual marketplace as a man, right? If you're, you know, double digit, triple digit body count, you're doing something right as a guy from an attraction standpoint. You're doing something right. Maybe you're charming. Maybe you're good looking. Maybe you have money. Maybe you have some status. You're doing something, right? Maybe you have a combination of all of them. So it's not necessarily that, you know, guys are trying to run around and sleep with as many girls as they can, but it is a very good and a very honest indicator of where you stand in the sexual marketplace as a man.
They can sow their seeds and how many children they can have, how tight and ill-fitting their suits can be, how nice their cars are, like how many cigars they can smoke. It is a caricature of masculinity. It is bitter, and in my opinion, it is incredibly performative. And while I know that I just spent 2 minutes basically complaining about them and saying what I think is wrong with their ideology, their core grievances, like the reason why the red pill...
And it's funny how she says, oh, I have... You know, it's funny because, like, girls will sit there and be like, oh yeah, these guys are douches or blah, blah, blah. But what they don't realize is that men have to be this way because of the sexual marketplace adapting. Right? Since women are so hypergamous and women behave the way that they do, men have had to adapt to that.
Bro was created in the first place, like their core grievances are often very legitimate. Like liberal women and progressives, you created a space for the red pill man to thrive. You pushed men for years, for decades, so far into a corner that they had no choice but to turn to people like Andrew Tate to create these ideologies so that they could feel powerful, so that they could have somebody who would say, hey, it's pretty great to be a man, even if that version of a man is kind of performative and a caricature, in my opinion. And I'm sorry, but the result of all of that, what this has become, is a major turnoff for women. Even women who might share your values or politically...
That's not true. She doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Again, this is why, you know, I've always told you guys, like, women are terrible commentators when it comes to the sexual marketplace and what they're actually attracted to. She's absolutely wrong in that one. Women absolutely love guys that are assholes that can call it like it is and don't give a fuck. All right? I've said this before. I'll say it again. The less you give a fuck, the more women like you. Okay? This whole... and this is why you never ask girls what they're attracted to. And this is why I'm always very reluctant to listen to females when it comes to dating and the sexual marketplace or anything like that. Because right here, she's just being disingenuous with you guys. Or you know what? Honestly, she probably doesn't even know, if I'm going to be honest. If you ask most women what they're attracted to, they wouldn't even be able to tell you. You guys know that? Like, let that sink in for a second, all right? If you lined up 100 girls and asked them, what are you actually attracted and aroused by? They won't be able to tell you. They might tell you what they like. Oh, I want a guy that's nice. I want a guy that's polite, blah, blah, blah. Go with his mom. Yeah, okay, who gives a fuck? That's what every girl wants. But what are you actually aroused by? They will not be able to tell you, all right? Or if they do know what they're aroused by, they probably won't disclose it out publicly and make themselves look bad. Because the things that arouse women are inherently taboo. Oh, I want a guy that pulls my hair, chokes me, tells me I'm a 304, blah, blah, blah. Most women don't want to run around and say that shit because what does that do? That reduces them to being objectified. But the reality is, unfortunately, women like to be objectified because if a man's able to objectify a woman, what does that do? That signals higher sexual market value. That signals status. And this is the ugly truth when it comes to female nature and the mating dynamics. Women want a guy who's taller, stronger, better looking than them, and they want a guy who can objectify them. Now, this sounds fucked up, but it's the truth. Why is it that 50 Shades of Grey is the most popular book amongst women? Why is it that romance novels are the most popular genre with women? Where the main character is some good-looking, rich guy who's extremely dominant and assertive, etc. Why? Because that speaks to the ugly reality of female sexual nature, which is to be dominated. And they don't like to say this, especially in this post-feminized world, because it makes them look inferior. But this is the reality of what women are actually attracted and aroused by. So, and this is why I tell you, I'll never take female dating advice, ever. Because they don't even know what they're aroused by until it happens. Does that make sense, chat? Or, if she doesn't know what she's aroused by, she ain't gonna say it on fucking air.
Agree with you because like you didn't want to date a feminist woman who hated you for your manhood and just hated your basic identity and wanted to take advantage of you through sex. Women also are not going to want to date men who are assholes and hate them for just being women. And I really think
that's not true. That's not true at all. Again, women don't know what they're talking about. Like if anything, women love assholes and women love guys that don't give a fuck. And one of the highest demonstrations of higher value, as a matter of fact, is like being indifferent. That actually makes you far more attractive to women. When you don't care or you don't take their opinion seriously, whatever, you treat them as like an inferior, bro. They love that shit. Again, why? Because it signifies status. Uruguay says you should look into Jimmy Dore a bit more. I've been watching him for years. He's a leftist, but his views are similar to yours. Okay. J.R. Rockham says, what's up with Brilliant Kid? I'd love for you to debate this guy in Israel. Brylan Kid? I don't know who that is. Mr. Morpheus, Myron, this 20-second video illustrates perfectly why women are useless and have no business critical roles in society. Okay. Joker, why is it always the most mid 304s that turn the camera and fucking yap? I'm telling you, bro. Pam Bondi joined Ballard Partners in 2019 and January 2025. ADL hired Ballard Partners and are trying to pass Stop Hate Act. Interesting. Zedin, Myron, you're thinking of Brian Banks. Went to jail for 7 years after the girl admitted she lied after she wanted money. Cue the monkey sound. No, there was another guy, bro. Somebody else. I think it was a soccer player. Is there an after-hour show? You should play Donovan's skit. Video ends at 5:44. Drop that link and Castle Club Phreology. Jen F says, definitely, I went to school, got a CNM, and was a midwife for 5 years until we had kids. Now stay at home, be a mother. Couldn't do that without his ambition to drive and pride. Exactly. TPC Films, we have equalized the world so much. Women, the physical readiness test for the Navy is such a joke. And the numbers versus women. Yeah, we definitely have lowered it. Ghost JQ says, oh, my boy Chris iced out now, LOL. Yeah, it is, he's on some nigga timing.
That a lot of these men online that we see just generally don't like women. Like I read their posts, I'm like, have you ever like been friends with a woman? Like, have you ever had any like moment of enjoyment with like a
see, and again, she doesn't get this. Being friends with females as a man is inherently a waste of time. It's a complete waste of time. Complete waste of time. And the reason why is because Brett doesn't know this because she's a female. Once again, women don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to this. The way a woman deals with a man, even when in a friendship role, is not the same way is not the same thing when she deals with women. Does that make sense, chat? When a girl has a guy in the friend zone, there's still certain expectations, right? She's gonna have of that guy, okay? Even if he's not her boyfriend, she's gonna still expect some type of masculine energy. She's still gonna want to defer to his authority and get his opinion on things. She's still gonna ask him for advice. She's still gonna look at him, in some way. In the boyfriend light. Obviously, she on her end, she's a W. She doesn't have to have sex with him, but she gets all the other conveniences. This is why if you ask girls, hey, who do you prefer to hang out with, men or women? A lot of them will tell you, I prefer to hang out with men. Because, men, we understand that for us to be accepted by anyone, we must provide some type of utility, even amongst our peers, right? Guys aren't going to just hang out with each other if there's no value given. But But with women, it's way different, right? So Brett doesn't understand as a guy, when you're dealing with a female, she's coming at you from a whole different paradigm than if you were a woman. All right? Completely different. You have to come with something in hand as a guy, even in a platonic friendship with a woman. Versus with females, it's not that way. That's why I don't like each other, if I'm being honest. That's why so many of them dislike each other, don't want to be friends with other girls. How many times have you guys heard, oh yeah, I don't like women. They're annoying, they're bitchy, blah, blah, blah. I wonder why. You know? I wonder why.
Female, a person of the opposite sex, because based on what you're saying, it seems like you just...
Because it's pointless. There's no point to have female friends. It's absolutely stupid. I tell you guys all the time, never be platonic friends with a woman. It serves you no benefit at all. It only benefits her.
Don't like us. And so it is no surprise to me that this is a situation that is occurring more and more frequently in our modern dating culture. This is from the New York Post, a recent article from a couple months ago. According to 19-year-old Liza, who's dating someone in his 20s and sat down with the outlet, she said, I'd go on the odd date with someone my age, and more often than not, it would end up in a straight-up argument when he started saying that Andrew Tate makes good points. Her boyfriend now, this older guy, is, quote, super chill, a feminist, and weirdly, so are most of his mates. He missed all of the manosphere stuff, and it shows. So now, unfortunately, because of all this red pill bro stuff, women are...
Yeah, and she's not going to find him attractive later on. The only reason she's even probably dealing with him is because there's an age gap, so he probably has some status or has some type of competency above her. But as she stays with him longer and longer, she's going to realize how much of a bitch he is, and she's going to be, I'm good. The reason why, right, and if you peel it back, the reason why she didn't like those other guys that said Andrew Tate has some good points, you guys want to know why? Because those men were her age. Okay, very important. All right? If a woman feels like she's on your level or if she's better than you, she don't want to hear none of that Andrew Tate bullshit. She's going to be like, get the fuck out of here. You're like, what are you talking about, Andrew? You're a loser. You're my age. You don't have nothing to your name. Right? You can only be an asshole like that when you got your shit together. Then you can go ahead and tell them, okay, woman, stop talking. All right? So that is why she didn't respect her peers of her age that said Andrew Tate had some good talking points. But if you're an older guy and you got your shit together and you say, yeah, I got Andrew Tate has some good talking points, they're going to shut the fuck up. Especially if you can walk it like you talk it, right? So this soy boy that she's dating with in his 30s that's more feminist, he's older than her, so she's okay with deference as authority. But if the other guy was older, had his shit together, she would be more inclined to believe the ideology. Remember, guys, women are chameleons, bro, okay? They shapeshift and formulate the opinions based on the strongest male in their life, okay? If you got a girl and you're a fucking Philadelphia Eagles fan, guess who's going to be a Philadelphia Eagles fan alongside you? Her. If you have a certain worldview, guess who's also going to have that worldview? Her. Okay? Women adapt and mold themselves to the strongest male in their life. That's why it's so important for her to have a good dad.
Are being pushed even further into the opposite direction, into the welcoming arms of these older, chill feminist bros with their chill, older feminist bro mates. But of course,
but it's not because they're feminists that they're getting these women. It's because they're older. Big key difference here for Brett that she doesn't get. Again, she's a woman, so she doesn't understand this shit. It's not his feminist ideology that gets him that woman. It's that his age and his competency over her is what gets the woman.
Of course, because we need to be fair, the women in this scenario are also not blameless, literally at all. Like, they might have started this whole thing from the get-go. And in talking about this, my mind immediately goes to Alex Cooper and her podcast, Call Her Daddy. But before we keep going, I want to thank today's sponsor. Now, if you followed me for the past few years, you know that there's a product that I have loved for a long time, and that would be confidence. Like, this is literally...
Yo, go daddy, bro. Call Her Daddy. This is the worst podcast ever, bro.
How they named their podcast Call Her Daddy. Take a listen.
For people that don't know what Call Her Daddy means, the word daddy is what? It's like you're a boss, you're a badass, you're powerful, dominant.
In the bedroom specifically.
Yeah, and you are in control of your life and in control in the bedroom.
Yeah. So the entire premise, the entire idea behind this huge culture-changing podcast was the idea that women should dominate in life and dominate in the bedroom at the expense of men. That men, to them...
Guys, smash that like button, by the way, for me. We're going to do Money Monday here very soon.
We're actually disposable.
And Call Her Daddy is the worst podcast ever. It's a 304 podcast that, sets women up for failure as usual, which I'm not fucking surprised about. They're always, I've told you guys this already, when we give each other terrible advice. It's actually amazing to me how terrible the advice is that they give, but, what can you do, right?
This is something she has said.
This is how we solve all of your problems. He didn't text me back. You have a full roster, okay? You line them up. He ditches you, you grab the next and the next and the next.
So basically what she's saying there is her rationale for having a roster of men and just dating around, because if one pisses you off, well, just go find another one. You need to have a bunch lined up that you can sleep with, that you can date, because...
Yep, that's terrible advice. But that's what it is, right? Smash that like button and just...
If a man pisses you off, don't deal with it, don't handle it, whatever, just move on and date somebody else because you should not have to be beholden to this awful man who was giving you the ick or doing something wrong because they are just disposable. Like, her ideology was based on the fact that men are pigs, so women should be pigs back towards them. Like, we should get back at them. And now, years later, this podcast has been around for over 5-6 years now, finally, now that she's older, maybe a bit more mature, she is married, she's talking about having kids, she is finally comfortable saying the quiet part out loud, that yes, in fact, she wanted to punish them. This is a recent clip from her interview on the Armchair Expert podcast. Take a listen.
Did you want to punish them?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I think because I have never had a hard time.
Someone actually married this 304, bro. Fucking embarrassing.
I'm making female friends. That was like the thing that filled me up the most. I always felt so comfortable around women, being on soccer teams, filming with my best friends. Like, I love it. Like, I love female friendships. And then when I finally
that's cap.
got to a point where I changed my hair and changed my skin and all of the things, when boys were drooling over me, and I was just like, oh, I hate you.
I mean, at least she's honest. That is sort of a good thing, but everything that she is saying, everything that she is black.
Yeah, and the reason why, typically, bro, guys, whenever girls like hate men like this, they're 304s, okay? That's a big red flag. Most women that I've seen that like actually detest and dislike men, they're 304s. And the reason why is because they're so used to getting pumped and dumped, ignored, not wifed up. So they're like, man, fuck men, I hate them. Almost every single time. Either they're a P-star, OnlyFans, sugar baby, escort, some bullshit like that. Or, they got ran through in college. Anytime I've seen girls say, oh, I hate men, I dislike them or whatever, 9 out of 10 times is because she's got dogged out by dudes for a very long time, didn't get a commitment, and she gets pissed off. That is a big reason why.
About for the last 6 years on her podcast. It is awful. It is unkind. And also it is self-harming behavior. It is not just unhealthy for men. It impacts them negatively. It's impacting the women negatively who choose to.
Yeah, guys, a big red. If they say, oh, I hate men, or they say that I'm doing or I'm celibate now, big red flags, 304. Okay. Those are some telltale signs right there that there are 304 levels.
It's over 9,000!
Act like this. But she and others like her, especially in Hollywood, they influenced an entire generation of women with these kinds of values, with these ideas that we need to be terrible to men as a way of punishing them, that are empowerment.
Oh, this has been going on since way before that. This has been going on since the Sex and the City, The Simpsons, Friends. This has been going on for the better part of like 30 to 40 years. The emasculation of men and making them look like bumbling idiots. These TV sitcoms, right? Like Married with Kids, making the guy look like an idiot every single time, and the woman is the authority and the more intelligent party in the relationship. It's been going on for a minute, dude.
Comes from sleeping around and screwing with men and playing games with them because that is what they deserve. That is where this divide started. So taking all of that into consideration, the years of that, it is no wonder that now men are responding by basically doing the same thing to women. Men were villainized by these women for just doing normal man things. Women blew their behaviors out of proportion, called them toxic and manipulative, said that the patriarchy was this awful thing. And now it seems like a whole group of scorned men, understandably scorned, who have been hurt and shamed for years, has had enough. And they're going, fine, we'll just become that and we'll do all of these things to get back at you. So it is this endless cycle. And I'm sorry to tell you guys, but two wrongs do not make a right. We are now basically in a washing machine of chaos and bad behavior and just being assholes to each other. But unfortunately, looking at our society and our culture and the trends and the attitudes, it makes sense. But again, that doesn't make it right. Neither of those behaviors from either of these groups, the toxic feminists that just want to sleep around, the red pill bros that hate women, neither of those behaviors or attitudes are right or moral or good or promote goodness. They're only contributing to a greater divide and distrust and a dislike of the opposite sex. That is the undercurrent that runs under all of this, is genuinely just disliking people of the opposite gender. And Billy Ray Brandt, who is a great video creator who actually used to make red pill content, she broke down this problem here. She was seeing it firsthand. This was the community that she was in, and I think she put it well. Take a listen.
Let me tell you about my biggest issue with red pill influencers. I used to think they all wanted to defeat feminism, but now I'm just realizing that they use feminism as an excuse to encourage negativity and toxic behavior amongst men. They bitch about women being hoes, but encourage men to be more promiscuous and create more hoes. They nihilistically claim that modern women are completely irredeemable. And rather than encouraging men and women to go change their ways and right the wrongs, they just bitch and moan while collecting a paycheck from the angry, hopeless men that they create.
Okay, I love this. Let's address this, because this is actually a critique we get a lot. So let's go through this one by one, right?
And I think she put it well.
Feminism as an excuse. About my biggest.
She broke down this problem here. She was seeing it firsthand. This was the community that she was in, and I think she put it well. Take a listen.
Let me tell you about my biggest issue with red pill influencers. I used to think they all wanted to defeat feminism, but now I'm just realizing that they use feminism as an excuse to encourage negativity and toxic behavior amongst men. They bitch about women being hoes, but encourage men to be more promiscuous and create more hoes. They nihilistically claim that modern women are completely irredeemable. And rather than encouraging men and women to go change their ways and right the wrongs, they just bitch and moan while collecting a paycheck from.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and break this down, because I love that she said this shit, because this is a big critique that a lot of these stupid people have of the red pill, saying, oh, well, you're saying, you're complaining about the problems with feminism, but then you're over here advising guys to, smash girls and everything else like this. let me tell you why, okay? Let's go ahead and go through this because put this to fucking bed. Because this is one of the big criticisms that guys like myself and other people in this side of the internet get. Here's the fucking reality. Since the 1960s, feminism has evolved, grown, and become a worldwide fucking phenomenon. It's seeped its ugly fucking head into societies and countries that otherwise would never happen. Women could drive now in Saudi Arabia, right? They can go ahead and carry jobs in the Middle East, which is probably one of the slowest to acclimate to this feminist problem. So what does that tell you guys? This tells you that even in the most conservative of countries, feminism is starting to slowly rear its ugly head and push into society. Now, I mentioned the Middle East to show you guys of how far we've come along. Here in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Western Europe, these first world countries, women effectively have more value than men. They have more rights, they have more privileges, because they could do the proverbial double dip that I was explaining before. So when I say, right, that guys need to get out there and get experience with women and smash these girls and do what they got to do, she's saying, oh, well, you're over here complaining about feminism, blah, blah, but you're telling guys to go out and smash those very same girls. Yeah, because I am intelligent enough to understand that women are not going to concede any of the ground that they've taken. I'm going to say that again. When I dispense this advice and I tell guys to do these things, it's not because I want them to do it just out of nothing. It's that I understand that we are too far gone. This is a movement that's been going on since the 1960s in the United States in particular. Women are not going to concede any of the ground that they've taken in this period of time. They're not going back in the kitchen. They're not going to start being more ladylike. They're not going to stop being 304s. They're not going to stop disrespecting men. They're not going to stop being insufferable. They're not going to stop. And the reason why they're not going to stop is why the fuck should they? If you have every single advantage as a female, where on one end, you can go to a good school, get a job, get a career, and get any single title that a man can have. But on the other hand, you can also be infantilized and treated like a lady and not take accountability or deal with consequences for your actions. Why the fuck would you concede any of that? Why? And that brings me to my point. I know we're not going backwards. I know that women aren't going to become traditional again. I know that a majority of them are not going back to the fucking kitchen. I know this. Okay? Because they have zero incentive to do so. Why go ahead and make themselves a one-trick pony when they already have the ability to be a multi-trick pony? They could be a feminist today. They could be a housewife tomorrow. They could be a mom breastfeeding the week after that. They can choose whatever the fuck they want to do. Okay? And I think that it's very important that you guys understand this. One thing, okay, about women is that they will fight to have access to stuff and have choice. What do I mean by this? Even women that are pro-life will sit there and vote for a candidate that is pro-choice. Does that make sense? I'm gonna say that again for you guys. Women have no problem with voting for or allowing people to be involved in a decision-making process that don't actually give them the benefit that they're fighting for. So I can't tell you guys how many times I've seen women that are pro-life go ahead and still vote for a candidate that's pro-choice. Why? Because they look at it like we don't want our rights ever being infringed upon. Even if I don't agree with it, I want other women to have the right to do it. Right? How many times have you guys seen on the show? I say we need to repeal the 19th Amendment. I don't think women should have the right to vote. And women will sit there and get mad at me. And I'll be like, okay, name the 3 fucking branches. Stupid. They don't know. But it's not because they don't want, when they're sitting there arguing with me for women to vote, it's not because they're arguing for themselves. They're arguing as a collective. The hive mind is strong, chat. The hive mind is strong. So even if they don't agree or believe in a principle, they will go ahead and defend said principle so other women can get that benefit. It's how they've been able to accumulate all this power over the time. Okay? So why am I telling you guys all this? I'm setting the stage to let you guys know we're not going fucking backwards. We're not regressing after we've progressed all this way forward with feminism. We're not going back. So since I know that we're not going back, because even the most conservative of women, by the way, will fight so that women can be 304s. Since I know this, I tell guys that that's the new normal. Which means you need to have experience with females nowadays. You just do, unfortunately. And the reason why you have to have experience is because women nowadays have all this power, they have all this leverage, and then if you go ahead and get married to one of them, they have all the power. You could lose your money. You could lose your house. You could lose your kids. You could lose alimony. You could lose your livelihood. So marriage is no longer an institution set up for men to win. It's an institution set up for women to win. Because the laws, unfortunately, have not caught up to the progress that feminism has made. The laws are still written in a way where men were the primary breadwinner, and if a man did decide to go ahead and leave his woman high and dry, the family courts would fucking punish him for that. That's why these laws are so damaging to men. They're damaging to men to be a deterrent from you leaving her high and dry. Because before women worked, the guy was a breadwinner. If he decided to just up and leave his female, well, you got to pay for that now. You got her to a certain lifestyle. You provide all the money. You're not going to just leave her high and dry and make her our problem. Fuck that. You got to pay her alimony. You got to give her child support, etc. But the problem is that these laws have not caught up to the progression that feminism has made. And now that you understand the political climate that we're at, this is why I dispense the advice that I do. Women get more experience than men do sexually. They deal with the opposite gender at a rate that far exceeds men dealing with women. So in order for you to be able to identify and then select a girl that will be a good wife to you long term, you need to be able to vet her. You got to be able to understand how women think. And you're only going to get this experience, unfortunately, as a man by getting out there and smashing girls. So when she's saying this stupid shit about, oh, well, you know, you're over here advocating for guys to go hook up with girls or whatever, you're part of the problem. What she doesn't realize is the problem ain't going away. That's what these bimbos like this chick right here fail to realize. This problem with women being 304s is not going away. If anything, it's becoming more of a rampant problem. Girls are losing their virginities earlier and earlier. Women are more incentivized to be 304s with the explosion of OnlyFans and the success. It has now basically become mainstream for women to basically become influencers, aka porn stars. It's more socially acceptable. You got bimbos like fucking Sophie Rain running around here talking about I made more money than LeBron James or whatever. Damn near every single one of these female influencers is basically a softcore porn star. Okay? So yes, the times have changed. Women are more promiscuous. They believe in feminism. They don't believe in male authority. They don't respect the majority of men. So when I tell guys to get out there and fucking, get your body count up, I wish it wasn't that way, but this is the new normal. This is how it is now. So the only way you're going to be able to deal with this fucking problem is to go in with your eyes wide open. And the only way to get your eyes wide open is to deal with women, hook up with them, figure out which girls you like, which ones you don't, and then most importantly, be able to identify women that aren't good long-term partners. Because if you never got your fucking pee-pee wet, and then all of a sudden you smash this one girl, now you're fucking stuck on a plantation. You never got your dick sucked before, now you're fucking simping for some bitch. And you don't know any better because this is your first partner. So she's over here selling you the dream, telling you, oh, I'm a good girl, blah, 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 and your dumb ass can't fucking see the difference. You don't see all the red flags because, you were a virgin when you met her. This sets you up for failure. I've told you guys this before, and I'll say it again. Promiscuous women will ruin your life. They really will. So I'd rather you guys go out there, smash a bunch, be able to identify these women, and then never commit to them. Rather than go ahead and be the guy, nice guy, be the good guy, hold your virginity, then go ahead and get one of these girls, rescue her from being a 304, and then she turns around and fucking ends your life. Not literally, but I mean like making it miserable. Because I'm telling y'all, man, promiscuous women will fucking destroy your life, dude. They will. And the crazy part is we live in a society that no longer shames them for being promiscuous. That's something else you got to get in your head. We live in a world now where they tell women your happiness overrides everything. Okay? It's totally acceptable to leave your husband, leave your man, leave your family, leave your kids in pursuit of your own happiness. And that should override everything else. Men will sacrifice their happiness for their family. Women will sacrifice their family for their happiness. Completely different.
Fatality.
So when bimbos like this chick over here are saying, oh, well, these Redpill guys advocate for men to go out there and smash a bunch of girls, it's hypocrisy. No, this is the new normal. So this is how men have to train. In order for you to identify 304 so that you never wife them, you need to be around 304s, unfortunately. Because the other thing I want you to be able to do also, besides being able to identify 304s, I don't want sex to have power over you guys. Does that make sense? Because here's the thing. if you're a guy that isn't sexually experienced and some girl, you know, gets your pee-pee wet for you, you're going to be more inclined to make really bad decisions or simp or lose focus because you've never got laid before. But if you can go ahead and make it where sex isn't that big a deal to you, so who gives a shit? It's going to put you in a way more powerful position. Why? Because female game is leveraging sex for compliance. Okay? All you stupid ass niggas in here, pay attention. Female game is simply leveraging sex for compliance. So in other words, you got to take me out on a date. You got to go take out the trash. You got to do X, Y, Z to get sexual access to me. Now, if you're a fucking monkey simp and you don't properly understand this dynamic, you're going to get fucking caught hook, line, and sinker. Next thing you know, your dumb ass over here putting rose petals on beds. You're over here being a simp, buying her gifts, getting her a new car and shit like that, like a fucking idiot. You only known her for a month. Because you are not aware of the fact that this is how women run game. Leverage compliance for leverage sex for compliance. But if sex doesn't mean anything to you anymore, it's not that big a deal because you're not thirsty, well, guess what? Now they have no power over you. Now, you have that 20/20 clarity. You got that post-nut clarity, which is what I want you guys to operate from most perspectives, where women can no longer use you. This is basically where I want you guys to be. I'm sure a bunch of you guys fucking go in here in the chat. Whatever. That's not what matters. But you know when you guys bust that nut, pause, and you get that moment of clarity, you're like, oh my God, shit, what was I thinking? I want you guys to have that mindset 24/7. You want to know why? Because when you have that mindset 24/7, women can't finesse you. You understand? Post-nut clarity is the most powerful tool that men have. Now, none of us are fucking Gandhi in here, so I get it. It's going to be very difficult to maintain that mindset all the time. But the longer you can maintain that post-nut clarity mindset, the better off you're going to be. It is a fucking superpower. It really is a superpower. So this is why, to answer this bimbo stupid ass fucking claim here, this is why I tell guys they need to be sexually experienced dealing with women so that women can't leverage sex against you for compliance. Because I know that that's their game. And if that's their game, that is how you effectively combat it. All right, give me ones in the chat if that makes sense. And I gotta get going here. We gotta do Fresh and Fit. Give me 1 second, ninjas. Send everybody over. All right, ninjas. All right, guys, it's Fresh and Fit time. We're going to do a call-in show, Money Monday. Jump in, guys. Literally, I'm going to raid myself. Here's the stream right here, ninjas. We'll pick this up tomorrow. Join OSS running the sale for you guys. Here you guys go. This is the stream right here, guys. Come on over. Money Monday, we're going to do a call-in with our boy Steve. You can watch it on Rumble, Kick, or YouTube, wherever you guys want. I'll be back tomorrow, ninjas. All right. Love you guys. 8 p.m. tomorrow. See you guys. We'll pick this up tomorrow. We'll react to some other shit, too. We're going to react to the Anus and Reach debate with Dumbass Knight. 2 idiots debating on conservatism. That'll be fun, too. All right, guys. Come on over. Dropping a link in the chat. Catch you guys over on that side. Peace.